Today we're wandering through the woods to practice my woodlands photography, all while we don't look for trees. Don't look for trees. That really sounds like counterintuitive advice for someone heading out to practice woodlands photography. So spring is here in the Midwest. In fact, it's actually advanced a little further along than I thought. And so I thought it was time to go out and practice some of my woodlands photography, get out here. I have lots of woods near me. It's a common trait in the Midwest. It's easier to find than my waterfalls and things like that. And I struggle with woodlands photography. I always blame it on the midwestern chaos. Our forests tend to have a lot of undergrowth, a lot of saplings and just scrubby brush, and it's just very chaotic. And so I've always used the excuse that the chaos of the woodlands or where I'm at just makes it too hard to practice my woodlands photography. It's why I'm not any good at it. Well, I decided to change that, and as one would do, I head out to YouTube and start looking for tips on woodlands photography. How do I do it? How do I compose it? What do I look for? And along the way, of course, I come across Simon Baxter's channel, and he's a great woodlands photographer, and he always has some great advice. And in one of his videos, he says, don't look for trees. And I think that sort of clicked, that sort of resonated with me. One of the things when I go practice my woodlands photography is I go out and I'm usually trying to look for trees. I'm trying to find an interesting tree and take a picture of it. And when you're in these cluttered, chaotic environments, finding a tree that doesn't have a limb coming across, or even being able to get the whole thing in frame without something else jutting across, is just very difficult, or very rarely possible at the very least. So I watched this video and I'm thinking, don't look for trees, don't look for trees. But it started to click as I watched this video. It's not so much about photographing a whole tree, it's looking at the smaller scene, it's looking at textures, it's looking at patterns, whether it be a pattern of limbs or shapes of limbs or patterns of colors, anything like that. Contrasty limbs, contrasty trunks that lean into each other or swirl or anything like that. So that's what I'm out here to do today. That just really sort of clicked, and it made me realize I gotta quit looking for these giant trees that are just super hard to find, but look more for the patterns in the chaos, the interesting elements in the chaos. And that's what we're out here to do today. So I came out here to a local metro park to practice this, and I've been to this metro park many times and I've done some videos from here, but I thought I'm in a particular area where I thought it would lend itself well to this. So I'm going to take the advice Simon Baxter said, don't look for trees, and practice my woodland photography. So I'm not sure how this is going to go, but like I say in all my videos, the key to this is get out and practice. You know, I can watch as many videos as I want about how to take woodland photography, how to compose them, 7 tips to do this, 5 tips to do that. But until I get out and practice, I'm just not going to get any better. So I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to see me practice what I preach and try to get some nice, interesting woodland photography. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you find it helpful. My goal is to get 2 semi-interesting compositions out of this. So let's get to it. So I keep seeing these little pockets of flowers out here through the woods, and I'm thinking there must be something that can work through here. So there's a couple pockets here. I wandered past a pocket up this way. There's a pocket here. There's one around the corner. So I'm going to sort of check those out. Just trying to see if there's something else to give it a little bit more visual interest than just a field of flowers. Maybe there's a tree with a limb that's interesting, something like that. So we're going to poke around with that. I am using the Nikon 28 to 400mm lens, so I have lots of flexibility with the compositions. So if there's something far off, or if I want to really isolate something, I'm going to have that opportunity to do so. It's one of the reasons I brought that lens, coupled with this, wanted to get a little bit more time in with that lens. So that's the one we're using. So I'm going to poke around a little bit more, see if I can find something interesting here to try to make a composition. Like I said, I'm looking for contrast, patterns, a limb framing the flowers leading into an interesting object, something like that. So we'll see what we can find. There's another little cluster of flowers up here. There's been several clusters this one doesn't have something that leaps out to me, I think I'm just going to sort of work these compositions just a little bit more. You know, sometimes I get in the habit of just going too fast. When you photograph waterfalls, it's pretty easy. Show up, there's a waterfall. It's where your subject is usually fairly obvious, and then you can just sort of work the other elements in and around it. Here, there's just, you know, 360 degrees you can look at to try to figure it out. So we're going to check this other little bundle up here, make sure there's nothing more potential further up. And then I think I'm just going to really sort of try to focus and make something work. Okay, so I hiked up a little bit further up the trail, up this way, and I do have some flowers over this way. I'm not quite finding what I was looking for. I think preconceived notion might be hurting me more here. So, but what I do have is I have this little cluster of flowers right by the trunk of this tree. And again, if I start thinking, falling back to my old ways, I'm thinking big tree flowers at the base. But I'm starting to think, what if I try to compose something down low with the texture and starkness of the bark and the tree trunk down here with the nice pop of flowers next to it. So I'm just going to set up, we're going to play a little bit and see how it turns out. So yeah, let's get the camera out. So I started to experiment with just sort of a low composition, and I made the classic mistake that I warn people all the time: don't set up your tripod right away. So I'm not 100% sure I like this. I almost feel like I want to be just a touch, a little bit of look down. I'm not sure. So, but what I am going to do is I'm going to pop the camera off the tripod, and that way I can more easily move around. And again, it's that classic habit. You put the tripod up, all of a sudden you're locked into the spot, and that's not really what I want to do right now. So we're going to pop the camera off and just sort of try it a little higher, a little lower, right, left, and see what we can get. Okay, so I tried a couple different heights down there, up, down, and I moved over this way, and still not super thrilled about this. But what I like from this particular angle is, let's see, do I like it down low? Oh, maybe low is nice. Well, what I like from this angle is I've got one flower that is against the tree, so it stands out against that tree. And a couple different things I like here. One, yellow flower against the darker trunk gives me that contrast I was sort of looking for. So we're going to play with a couple different compositions here and see how it goes. We'll see what I walk away with. Okay, so the first composition I'm sort of working through is I actually opted to go portrait style. These flowers are tall and they're against this tree. And so what I have is I have this one sort of single isolated, and then I've got these others off to the right. And I sort of like the scene it's doing. There's some dark contrasting tree trunks off in the background to give it a little bit more depth back there, I think. So just sort of working through this. So I'm focus stacking it. Right now I'm sitting around, I'm at f11. I did kick the ISO up to ISO 400 because just a hint of a breeze making these move. Not very strong, but just enough I wanted a slightly faster shutter speed. 1/4 is what I'm hoping I'll catch it. I lined this one up. I did this shot too, but I'm noticing is the tree sort of cuts through this flower, and I feel like if I go over just a little more, makes it a little better. So we're gonna do another couple tries here. We'll do one landscape style just to see what that does. And yeah, I think we'll see how I like this. Okay, so I think that's good for this particular spot. I think the lesson here is if it doesn't immediately jump out to you, take a little bit of time and work through. Again, this is practice for me, so I'm trying to work my head, train my head into it. It took me a little bit. One, I was moving too quickly through the things. I finally said I'm going to sort of work this shot, played with different compositions for it, and I thought there was one other lesson. Oh, I had to move away from thinking full tree because I was walking by full tree, and when I started focusing in on the colors, the contrast, that's what this scene is in my head going to be about. We'll see if I execute it well, but it's the contrast of the dark tree trunk here, the soft flowers here, and with this particular shot in landscape mode, the little darkness back there to help balance the frame out. So that was the thought that went into it for me. We'll see how I execute. But again, this is why you can't just stay at home and watch videos all the time. It sounds easy. Oh yeah, just look, don't photograph trees, look for patterns and stuff. But you have to get out and practice that mind muscle to do it. So we're gonna pack up here. I've got one other little quick spot. Like I said, I sort of wanted to get 2 compositions out of here today. And I've got another little spot down this way a little bit that I just want to see what it works. It's closer to the river and see how it goes. And yeah, we'll move on. So we're just gonna walk down the trail a bit down here, just a ways up and cut off into towards the river. I think it'll give me more tree-like things to photograph because there won't be quite as much underbrush. I had every intention of making out early spring before the green foliage got overwhelming. I think I missed that opportunity because the grasses are already super thick and everything like that. But you know, again, I gotta quit making excuses for chaos and start looking for patterns and start looking for, you know, those objects of interest amongst the chaos. Chaos tends to indicate that there are interesting things going on. You just have to distill it down to that. So that's why we're out here practicing. So down in this little spot, the water keeps all the shrubbery and the brush down a lot lower. It gets sort of scraped through when this river, the big river on the other side of this little ridge, floods. So it just leaves lots of these big old trees with limbs coming through. Right now, that's probably what I'm seeing is sort of some limbs up in the sky there a little bit. There's an interesting tree back there. So yeah, we're gonna wander around here. I'm gonna pop over this ridge here real quick, see what's on the other side. And I think we can find something to play with here, and we'll see. Just coming down here just a little bit just to see the water is way up. Normally, you can almost walk all the way out to that tree and get out there, but the water is way up today. And let's come down this way just a bit. Yeah, water's way up on this shore. So we're gonna set up right here. There's this tree coming up with the green. There's this fallen limb across it. It comes down, a little bit of green growing on it. I think there's enough knot sky popping in behind it. We might be able to make something work. So I'm gonna try this shot, and then there's another one I'm gonna try back in here. So let's see what happens. So we're gonna set up here real quick and see what we can make. Again, this is gonna be, well, I'll talk about it when I get the camera set up. Okay, so I've got the scene all set up here. Well, not set up, but I've got what I see. And what I'm trying to do is just sort of compose it up here in the camera. I'm going to do a couple different variations because I'm not 100% sure what'll work. But what I'm getting is I'm getting that dark contrast of the tree trunks against the field of green. And that's what I'm going for, is the contrast, the chaos. I'm trying to capture this little element chaos in front of me. So again, I'm shooting at f11 on this 28-400. I'm pretty sure that's where the sweet spot's going to be on this. And we're just going to get one quick test shot here, get my exposure set. Shooting at ISO 400, shutter speed 1/10. And yeah, let's take this shot. Take a quick peek at it. So I have a feeling I'm including too much in this scene. I took this shot and I've got the more interesting piece here and a little bit of contrast down here, but I feel like I'm probably getting, I'm also guilty of sometimes not simplifying my scene enough. And I think that might be the case here. So we are going to zoom in even. Okay, now this balances it out just a little bit more. So what I've done is I've zoomed in probably close to 105 millimeters. I was probably more around 50, 60 before. So we're going into 105. Similar concept. I got the tree coming here, down here on the right, and I've got this other little piece of tree trunk with a fallen tree coming down, sort of occupying it on the left. Back off this little bit to give me a little bit of cropping room, just a little cheat factor there. Like again, the biggest difference is I've just sort of closed in on this scene a little bit. I'm still sort of honoring what I had before, but I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, try to simplify the scene. All right, so I'm just working my way through a focus stack now. Okay, so I am going to run through a quick focus shift, let the camera do the focus stacking for me on this. I did the first one manually. We're going to let the camera zip through this. It'll probably take a lot more shots, but just sort of playing around. Like I said, part of this practice too is learning what works photographing woodland and what doesn't. So that's that. So I think that wraps it up for this spot. We're just gonna literally pop over this ridge, take the camera off of here, and we're just gonna see if we can't find one more composition, just practice it up, and go from there. Okay, I actually have two shots here. I've got this honeysuckle tree over here on the right that leans into this tree, and this big tree leans over to the right. So we got one leaning left, one leaning right. We're gonna do that shot first, landscape style, and then I'm gonna position myself to just shoot this tree portrait style without the honeysuckle in it and just try to get the trees going across. So we'll see which one I like better. I'm gonna shoot just a little bit wider than I might otherwise. Try to center it in there. This will end up being a 4x5. So yeah, let me move you so we can talk through the shot real quick. Like I said, we're doing two here. So let's move you. Move you right here. Okay, so we're gonna do the horizontal shot first. Got the honeysuckle coming up, big tree limb coming across. The way I've composed it here is got some foreground. I'm coming across like this. It's shot a little wider than I would expect. This is gonna get cropped down to like a 4.5, I think. We are gonna focus stack this. I was ISO 400, shutter speed 1/13, f11, and we'll see what that gets us. Let's do the portrait style shot for that. I'm gonna have to move up because I wanna work this honeysuckle out of the way. So let's move up a bit. And okay, so what we're doing here is we're just trying to get the bigger tree that's got a little bit of a curve into it. Let's move you over here, moving again. So when I was positioned that way, there's a lot of blue sky up here. I'm still getting a little bit of it, but I think this might give me the crop I need. We'll just take the shot. I don't feel as good about this one now that I'm actually here shooting it. Yeah, I'm not so sure I like that. We'll focus stack it so we have it. Too much blue sky. I'm getting blue sky. If I was higher up, maybe, and was shooting more down on it, I think that might help maybe. And the tree is interesting, but I think, again, I think what I've fallen back to is I'm seeing the tree. And I'm supposed to come out here and don't look for the trees, don't see the trees. And I think I've come back out and I'm starting to see the tree and I get attracted to it, and then that's it. So I think that's what's going on here. I'll include this shot in the video, of course, here in a couple seconds. I don't think I like it. I don't think I do. And I think it's because I reverted back to my old way, which is I can't help but look for trees. And what I'm trying to do is train my, don't look for the trees, look for the interesting elements of the chaos. Okay, so we're gonna pack up and then we'll wrap this video up. Okay, so that wraps it up out here. Like I said, it was a great little while out in the woods, exploring, trying to see things differently and practicing. And really, I didn't get any portfolio-worthy images out of here. These were just practice. It was getting out and practice. But that's the important thing. If you take nothing else away from this video, just realize that you can watch YouTube video after YouTube video. You can watch my videos. You can watch someone else's videos. You can go read articles. And you're not going to get any better just sitting at home watching videos. You have to go out and practice. And that's what I did today. I've watched lots of woodland photography videos over the past week or two, and you know, none of it really gels until you head out and start practicing. And even today, I mean, you heard it at least twice in this video. I talked about how I already reverted back to seeing the whole tree. And my whole thing when I came out here was don't see the trees. This last shot I ended up with here, it was a tree, and that's not what I was trying to do. That wasn't my intent. So, you know, you got to get out and practice. And now I've been out, and I'll probably watch a few more videos and things will just click a little different. And I'm going to repeat this. I'll come out again and I'll struggle some more and I will come out again, and I will keep coming out until I start to see these a little more naturally or learn how to work the shot a little better. So that's the key. For me today, it was practicing woodlands photography. It was me putting together what I tell people to do all the time: watch a video, learn a concept, go out and practice it to reinforce that concept and work your way through it. And that's what we're doing today. So like I said, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. And if you see future landscape photography content from me, including tips, tricks, behind the scenes, mini gear reviews, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you for watching.